have questions from a financial aspect for your business, for your side hustle, this is the episode for you. Joining me today is Latanya Housen, and she has been a financial expert. The woman knows her stuff well over 15 years. And she's actually going to be talking with me about how to find the right kind of funding or figuring out the right kind of funding for your business. Before we get into it, I must give Latanya a moment to shine. Tell us more about yourself, anything you'd like us to know, and thank you so much for being here with me today. Take it away.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you and your guests. So, a little bit about me. I am a Jamaican immigrant to Canada, citizen now, but I will never give away my roots. In terms of my career vocation, I've been in the financial sector for over 15 years, both in Jamaica, where I'm from, and in Canada. And I believe that the journey, either way, has found me in a space of giving advice. So not only in terms of just telling people what the institution tells me to say, but finding the ways to, uplift the level of understanding for the people that I've been in touch with, ensuring that when they walk away from me, they have added value in our interaction, having interacted with me. Yeah.
Exactly. What today's about is really understanding the financial piece. Like before we started recording, I had said, clients, so it was like, CJ, help me find a grant. Tell me more about grants, and which is great. And there are different types of grants available for different levels of entrepreneurship. But the thing is, I'm a coach. That's my area. So there's only so much I can do. Yeah, sure, I can help you find a grant. The government has grants. Financial institutions have them. Certain corporations have them. There's so many available, especially for entrepreneurs, on visible minorities, Black women entrepreneurs. The options seem like they can be endless. My question though is,
Yes.
when somebody, let's say she's at the 9 to 5, she started her side hustle, she doesn't quite want to use all of her income, her 9 to 5, her salary to supplement her side hustle, and she decides, I need to find some other kind of funding. What does she take into consideration? Does she apply for a grant? Does she go to the bank and get a small business loan? Does she look for an investor? What does she need to take into consideration to know the right direction to take things in?
So the right direction really depends on the industry that the individual is in and what kind of business initial outlay they'll need for the business. So when you find like somebody who's like service oriented and a consultant or someone who has just virtual clients, we call them B2B, like business to business. So there's no physical space. Then easy means of like transferring money would be like a credit card or a line of credit. And those things cause you to have what we call cash flow support. If it is a business that has an initial outlay where they need equipment, that kind of thing, then that's a totally different story where you might need an investor. Investors usually come originally from family members if you have that kind of support or your family has the ability to support you in terms of investing in the business. If not, there are grants and loans available. Let's focus on grants a little bit. So, women in particular, it's the statistics prove that women are the most underfunded in terms of entrepreneurs, and it's a two-edged sword because one, we don't seem to be taken seriously by a lot of the financial institutions they found because of our gender, but the other part is sometimes that we don't ask for support as well. So it depends on how you look at it. What I could say is for women in particular, there are a lot of grants that are now available or coming more available because of this, of the government and other groups recognizing that women are seriously underfunded. So a quick uh, pull up would be the Fundica.ca website, just to find out if there are grants that are available based on your industry and what you're looking at getting done. There's Corulus, which is another group that supports women who provide two things. They provide grants, loans, but they also provide a network. So you can meet people who are in the same industry. You can meet people who might have similar or complementary products and services to your business, but you get to try it on and see how it aligns with you and utilize that. If you're a Black woman, there are a couple opportunities available in Canada recently. So, Bank of, no, what are they called? Black Opportunity Fund, sorry, has grants that are available for Black entrepreneurs. And they seem to have a lot of programming for women entrepreneurs recently. And I've had pitch competitions and where people actually talk about the business and show the value added that they're bringing or the problem they're solving in society. And they vie for grants and win monies that they can use for the initiation or expansion of the business. So grants, when you think of it, it's not only applicable when your business is just starting, it can be something that you utilize at any stage of the business process. There's a federation of, well, we call it Face Coalition as well. That is also another community focused organization for Black individuals, but they also have cohorts running for Black women in particular. And there are quite a few other founders that I've been working with through my work. And I found that women are being catered to a lot in terms of support and guidance and training. And that's very important.
And I love that you started off with grants and really kind of breaking down and explaining grants, and that you touched on that it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be just when you are starting your business that you look for a grant. At any point in your business, you
Right.
would, who doesn't need a little bit of
Yeah.
extra funding, right? Um, what is a
Yeah.
common, since we're talking about grants, what is a common misconception
Mhm.
when it comes to business owners, grants, looking for grants, applying for grants? Is there something that people always miss in the grant application process?
So I've been on some panels that review grant applications, and some of the things that I find is that the process of applying, a lot of applicants underestimate the reviewing process. So if it is, say for example, you're saying that you have a particular business, you might submit that grant proposal, but you haven't given us enough information or you created more questions and answers for us. Or in terms of the monies that you're applying for, you haven't given us a direct understanding of how that will be applied in the business and how that in and of itself will create a sustainable system for you going forward. Because we wouldn't like to know that we're giving a grant to an individual who's going to be applying for grants over and over, just to keep their business going, as opposed to someone who needs it to have a particular investment or injection that can create sustainable revenues for them. Another misconception that I found too is just applying for any grant. Some grants are not applicable. Yeah. You need to pay attention to what the criteria is for the grant that you're applying for. If it's not applicable, it would not make sense for you to actually enter that round of funding. And it also is indicative. So, for example, think about me reviewing, and I'm like, how did this person believe? So you're not shortlisted because it's an automatic decline, as opposed to when you're actually in the right space where the grant applies and appeals to your line of business. Then we're able to then really get down to the finer details on it and really give you a good review. And it is kind of defeatist to apply for grants and never get one, because I've heard a lot, especially in the Black community, oh, I applied for a grant, I didn't get it. But sometimes it's these factors that cause people to not be successful in their grant
Glad,
applications.
because that was going to be another, because you touched on when they're applying for the grant, there is intention behind the grant application. And I think the reason
Yes.
why I wanted to ask what the misconceptions are, I feel like people just feel like they just can apply for a bunch of grants, so they just keep applying for grant after grant after grant after grant because they're like, oh, well, they have this money
Mhm.
to give away, so I might as well just apply. Why not? right? But there should it. I mean, this is why there
Yes,
are
yes, yes,
professionals
yes.
who can help you actually write the grants, right? Because there's a process and a consideration to be taken
Exactly.
into. Okay, I'm glad you did touch on that. Is there anything
Mhm.
else someone needs to know before if she realizes, okay, you know what, I'm not finding the right kind of grant or a grant that suits me and my business goals, my business plan. Now I'm going to, what would be the next step? I'm going to, you mentioned getting a line of credit or credit card, or where they head to the bank
Yeah.
and
Mm.
say, give me some money, loan me some money, or like you mentioned, investors. So it's just funding. What's the process of elimination, if you will, for lack of a better term, when trying to really find the right kind of funding?
That's a good question. So we've already covered like whether or not you have family members who would want to invest, and they'll be like private investment. But then when we think about it, every single business literally has to bank somewhere. So it makes sense to have a relationship with your bank. And the fact that entrepreneurship is one of the fastest growing sectors in the Canadian economies, the banks realize that it is something that they need to support. So when you think about credit and credit access, you have to think about it in terms of what is sufficient for my business. The banks are in the habit of giving you what you need, not what you want when you're looking at a business. So it's not a nice to have. It is a make sense, reasonable, rational application of credit because they do not want your business to be over leveraged. So in my seat, sometimes based on the fact that I work with one of the main financial institutions, I will have an application for someone within the black experience segment asking for a loan for about $500,000. But when you ask them about the revenues, it's 50,000 per year. Think about it that way. We have to be very realistic. Would the bank really want to lend or give a line of credit for 500,000 with those revenue models unless the person is able to show, and this is usually typically through a business plan or past financials, how it is that they are able to one, maintain it, two, create the fluctuations on the balance, and three, manage the monthly obligations in addition to what the business itself needs servicing, right? So we have to be very realistic. But the my rule of thumb is that if you open a business, you always have to have some sort of cash flow support. The easiest thing to get from a bank, and it doesn't have to be a large limit. It could be $5,000, could be $2,000. Is a credit card, a business credit card. Even if you're a sole proprietor, it's recommended that you do it because it helps to cha- create a line of demarcation between your personal finances and your business finances. So if it is that you need to do accountant prepared financial statements, then we're looking at you being able to carve out what are real business expenses as opposed to what is an individual or personal
All
expense.
right. And that's where the lines can be blurred, especially for a woman who is still at her full time job, doing something on the side, and really trying to manage
Right.
both sides.
Exactly.
And of course, we'll end up dipping into the other
Exactly.
side and thinking, oh, I'll just do this for this one thing. But should the need arise, oh, I can always get a business credit card because I've been using my personal credit card. Do you ever recommend it anytime? I think I probably know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it because people are wondering. Is there ever a time when you would recommend someone uses anything on the personal side for their business?
The only time it will ever make sense, and this is just me thinking, it's not something that's approved, but is if the business is your only source of income and you're a sole proprietor. Only time that it would make sense, but ideally you wouldn't want to. Even if the business is a sole proprietorship, because the liability would be yours personally anyways, no matter what happens in the business. I still think that you should be able to separate your household expenses from your business expenses. It makes sense. And it also makes it easy. Say, for example, in the future, you really want to follow through and incorporate or become a partnership or any other agreement with your business. It makes it easier for you to do evaluation, to understand your business obligations and debts, for you to really show value in terms if someone is even joining you in that business to really cut out and carve out the information so that you can see it and decide. Even for your VCs, like if you're doing venture capital, expect you want somebody to come in and invest in your business, you have to have financial statements, regardless of sole proprietorship or incorporation. You have to show the viability of the business. And that's really how you end up getting the big bucks.
This isn't gonna feel like even there's always so much that you can learn. Again, this is why you are the expert. I am the
Mhm.
student today. And just based on when I was starting my business back in 2016, based on the questions I get from clients, one of the
Mhm.
concerns, always the main concern, it's always either time and of course money, right? And that fear of losing
Yes.
money or investing in something, the time and the money into something, and you feel like it's not going to work out. Is there any point when is somebody in their entrepreneurial journey and they're realizing they aren't generating the income fast enough, how they anticipated to generate the income? She's still at her 9 to 5, but she doesn't
Right.
necessarily have the income from a 9 to 5 to supplement the business the way she wanted to. She still believes in the business. She has a solid business plan. It's just, of course, the marketing, the visibility, etc. Is there something that she can do at that point to say, like, I really believe in my business. I'm running out of money. What are my options?
So it again, it's so individualistic. You'd be surprised, and that is why it's good to have like good advisors to support you, because sometimes, depending on your unique circumstance, there might be a solution that is not like a broad brush approach to every single person. In the event that though you are employed, you literally have this, say, let's call it candle making business that you love and you really enjoy the process. You started out as a hobby and now you realize you can monetize it. And but you're realizing too now that okay, you had a mortgage, interest rates went up on this mortgage, you have more money coming out, so you can't rely on that extra money that you had to go buy resources to keep your candle business going. What are some of the things that you could do? So there are small loans that you could take out. When I say small loans, the idea again in business is to take what you need, not have excess amounts of credit in your business. So there are like tiny loans that you can take out in terms of like with the banks or with Fundica or with the Black Opportunity Fund or Face Coalition. Tiny loans, $1,000, $1,200, $2,000. Any amount that covers the ability to create that level of continuity for you. And the repayment is not going to be an obstacle. So we have to think about what is important and integral at that stage. And again, having an account manager or someone who understands your business is crucial in this conversation and decision making process. Because again, when you're of a network or you work with people who have similar complementary businesses, you can have that relationship where they can give you advice. What is also important too is around customer incentivization for people who have physical products. I find that when you can give a discount in a time where you are like low activity, if you can incentivize through discounts, which are not putting you in a loss position because we all mark up our goods and services, that also helps with the stimulus and consistency with clients utilizing your services or products. So that's another way that you could go about it. But there's no one size fits all in that space because I might look at other things that are happening in your life and find, oh, here's an opportunity that we can do because you can borrow from your personal business, your personal life and lend it to your business, and it literally becomes a transaction, and then the business owes you. So those are things that we could look at. And so, yeah, there are a lot of options available. So, if you are in that critical stage, the best thing to do is reach out for advice and information from people who are trusted in the industry, or also your financial institution, just to get some ideas. There are grants, there are loans, there are venture capitalists. There are a lot of options that are available.
Try to figure it out on your own is what Latanya is saying. If you find yourself scrambling,
Right.
get yourself to a professional,
Yeah.
which is a lovely segue because you
Mhm.
have provided, I think you just kind of started and scratching the surface of how the different directions that this conversation can go in. How do people
Mm.
find you? How do they get in contact with you? To if they need an advisor, how do they reach
So,
Latanya?
well, the best way to reach me is on LinkedIn. And once you reach out, just send me a message, and I'll do my best to get in touch with you on a one-on-one basis, just to give you advice. It doesn't mean that you have to subscribe to the institution that I am working for. Because again, part of the passion and why I do the work that I do is because I see where it has a positive impact on not only the business but the lives of the individuals that I'm in touch with, and that is where I find joy at work.
Being able to share your knowledge and expertise. This was really, really good. I cannot believe all the time just flies by. But I'm not done with you yet. Do you have a nugget
Yes,
to share with the audience today? Anything to wrap the conversation up?
sure. So I have this on my desk. It says trust your purpose, and both in personal life and in business, this is something that you actually have to always think about. I like to reflect on purpose, especially on the days when work is overwhelming and I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I think about what is the purpose? And the purpose is always going to be a higher or the higher value situation and experience expectation. There's times at work, the things that really thrill me at work are not things that they pay me to do, honestly, but it is purpose. And purpose gives you that sweet spot, that heartwarming, and it re-energizes you as well. So if you're in a business, if you're a new entrepreneur, if you're going through it, if you're in the middle or you're like, oh, I want to sell, still think about all the purpose related pieces. Why did you start it? What was the aim, the goal? Once you can justify those pieces, you will understand your intention and how to move to your next
And
stage.
you know what? That was a perfect way to end off the our conversation, especially for new entrepreneurs, seasoned entrepreneurs. There's always going to be that moment constantly where we have to tap back into your why,
Mhm.
into your purpose. When it comes to the financial piece, your
Yeah.
business isn't generating income fast enough. There's more going out than coming in your business and in your personal life. It really is important to be able to trust your purpose and also reach out to Latanya for some more advice.
Yeah,
Don't try to figure this out on your own, please.
definitely.
But thank you
Things
so much
are
for joining me today and sharing your expertise and answering a lot of questions. And I think you have given some
Mhm.
direction to anyone who tunes in so that they can get the confidence moving into the new year. I can't believe it's around the corner, 2025, so they can start it off on the absolute right foot. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
I appreciate you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity, and I am here for you. If you
Absolutely.
need me again,
Oh, I'm
happy
holding
to
you to
join
that. I'm
again.
recording. I'm keeping that
Yeah.
piece.